Welcome to Rhett's Races, and today we are reviewing the Miami Grand Prix. There was a lot of hype and excitement coming into this Grand Prix just by the fact of it being in Miami. And with it being a street circuit, there was some strong potential of tight racing too, with the sections being a mixture of long straights from Saudi Arabia and the twists and turns of Baku street circuit. With it being a new track, we weren't sure who was going to be strongest. During practice, it seemed like the Red Bulls would be dominant, but it was actually Charles Leclerc who managed to put his Ferrari on pole. The start of the race was relatively clean, and Max Verstappen managed to make a vital move up to second place ahead of Carlos Sainz, but it wasn't until lap 9 where he finally overtook Charles Leclerc for the lead, using the inherent speed in his Red Bull and the DRS zones. Because of the narrow nature of the track and the slippy tarmac that had been used, there was limited overtaking, particularly outside the DRS zones. But one amazing move that we saw was the return of the Honey Badger, Daniel Ricciardo, absolutely sending a dive bomb up the inside of Yuki Tsunoda. And whilst this wasn't ultimately for points, it was great to see Daniel Ricciardo returning to form. Another person who returned to form was Carlos Sainz. After a couple of races of just pure disaster, he managed to place his Ferrari on the front row and managed to maintain third position throughout the race and ended up on the podium. For the most part, it was a pretty quiet race. That was until Fernando Alonso began to make a move on Pierre Gasly. And whilst he didn't manage this move to completion, he did tap Pierre Gasly's AlphaTauri, knocking out the rear wheel. This gave Gasly some damage that ultimately resulted in him running wide and slow before coming back onto the track and hitting Lando Norris into a spin, causing a virtual safety car, then a full safety car. This played right into the hands of George Russell, who'd extended his stint in the hopes that something like this would happen. So once again, George Russell finished ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Further back in the field, things were looking good for Mick Schumacher, as he was looking good for his first points since his start in Formula 1. However, he got a bit too optimistic on his friend Sebastian Vettel, and was trying to overtake him on the inside. He ended up knocking Vettel out completely, damaging his own car in the process. So whilst he did finish the race, he no longer had any points. Someone who did manage to get points, however, was Alex Albon, once again managing to put that Williams where it has no right to be. Alex thanks his lucky red hair, but it is clear that his year out of Formula 1 has not meant a drop in form. Another great performance came from Valtteri Bottas. He spent the whole race running in the top 10 and was looking good for 5th until he went a little bit too wide and was overtaken by the two Mercedes. But a P7 is a respectable finish for an Alfa Romeo. Overall, the drivers seemed to enjoy the challenge of this new track, and whilst we didn't see the most on-track action we have seen so far this season, the vibes surrounding the race meant that it was an enjoyable experience to watch. I think with a few more runoff areas, drivers will be more inclined to take risks and give us more racing on this track. Max Verstappen continues his domination of winning races that he finishes and is slowly catching up to Charles Leclerc in the championship. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe to our channel and follow @RhettRaces on Twitter for more updates.